Hello students, how are you all? I hope you all are fine. This is your science lecture of grade 5th, and I am your science teacher Aparna Pandey from Arjun Progressive School, Lamachon. So student, as you all know that we are discussing our chapter number 3. We are discussing chapter number 3 and its name is Skeletal System. In this chapter, students, I have introduced you with what is a skeleton, and then I have introduced you with the different types of bones that a skeleton has, like skull, then rib cage, the following parts, the parts that is a skeleton consists. I have introduced you with that all parts like skull, rib cage, backbone, pairs of limbs, right? Now student, in today's class we are going to discuss about the new topic, and that is, you can see here on board, is joints. Now when we talk about bone, students, then question comes that how these bones are arranged and how they are connected to each other. So for knowing all these things and how these bones function, what are the other things that is inside our body, so for giving answer of all these things, students, we have the new topic, that is joints. Now what is this joint? According to the name, I hope that this you all are getting, that here we are going to talk about some joints. So as we are discussing skeleton chapter and we are talking about the bones, so student, here the meaning of joints is that we are talking about the joints of the bones. We are talking about the joints of the bones. Now what are these joints actually? So beta, these joints are the point where two bones meet each other, where the two bones are meeting with each other, and the point is called joint. That point is called joint.
Now students, here you can see that some special portion is marked with the red circle. This special portion is actually called joints. These all are joints which help the bones in joining with each other.
Okay, so what I have written, where two bones are joined to each other. Where two bones are joined to each other, that point is called joint. So from here question arises that are these bones just joining with each other, just meeting with each other, or there are some other things which are helping them in holding the bones together. So student, the two bones where meet, the point is called joint, and for holding these bones together, there is a strong and flexible tissue that is named ligament. So what is ligament? Ligament is a strong flexible tissue which help the bones to hold together. Ligaments are strong and flexible tissues which help the bones to hold together. Okay?
Now student, in this picture you can see that gray portion is given. This gray portion is marked as ligament. Now you can see here that these ligaments are helping in joining the two bones, the upper bone femur and the lower side two bones fibula and tibia. These three bones are joined with each other with the help of a ligament. So ligament help in joining bones with each other.
Now, what is the role of ligaments in human body? That ligaments are helping the bones to hold together. Okay, now I hope it is clear. When we talk about the joint now, so student, when I have explained you about the skull and facial bones, there I told you that the bones of the skull are immovable, but the jawbone is movable, right? This I have introduced you. So like this, in our whole, there we have talked only about this skull, so I have explained that part. But student, When we talk about the whole skeleton, so in our whole body, here we have different joints. So what are these? See, for knowing about these joints, first of all, let me introduce you with the two types of joints. What are these two types? The first one is immovable and the another one is movable joint. The first one is immovable joint and the another one is movable joint. When we talk about the immovable joints, you all know that immovable joints are 8 bones of the skull interlinked and the wrist bones are also immovable except the lower jaw. These all things I have told you in previous video only. So here now as we come to know that joints are of two types, some are immovable and some are movable. So about the immovable you know. Now it's time to introduce you with the movable joints. So when we talk about the movable joint, students, you can see here on screen that I have divided this movable joint into the four types. I have divided this movable joint into the four types. What are these? These are ball and socket joint. The first type of joint is ball and socket joint. Then second is our hind joint. Second is our hind joint. Third one is our pivot joint. Third one is our pivot joint. And the fourth one is our gliding joint. And the fourth one is our gliding joint. Okay. So right now we know now that we have four types of movable joints and these are ball and socket joint, hind joint, pivot joint and gliding joint. Okay. Now, no need to worry, just have patience. Everything you will come to know. When we talk about the ball and socket joint. So, what is this ball and socket joint, students? So, as name suggests, the one bone is having the shape of a ball and the other side act as a socket. One side of the bone acts as a ball. It has a circular spherical face like a ball and the other side where it is attached, it is type of a socket.
So student, here in this picture you can see that the white portion that is visible, it is the ball, and the portion in which it is going to fit, yellow portion having some gap inside, it is a socket. So in this way we have ball and socket joint.
Where you have seen such type of joint in your body? It is in your shoulders and hip joint. It is in your shoulders and hip joint.
Now on your screen you can see, students, two pictures are given. The first one is your shoulder joint, that is showing us the ball and socket joint in the shoulder, and the another picture is showing us the pelvic joint, the joint that is also called the hip joint, the ball and socket joint in the hip area. So these two pictures are showing you ball and socket joint of shoulder and hip.
And this is the maximum movable joint. Okay, these are hip joint and the shoulder joints are the maximum movable joints. See, you can move in all directions like this, up, down, right, left. So these are and with maximum speed. So these are the maximum movable joints. Move further, we see second type is a hind joint. Second type is a hind joint. Now see, hind joint is similar to the joint that you can see on your doors. Now how you can see that on your doors? See, whenever you open the door, you have two options. Either you can open or you can close. Either you can open or you can close. Means either front or back. Front or back. So such type of a joint are called hind joint.
Now students, you can see in the given picture, this is showing joint in the knee area. It is between the femur and tibia, and with the help of this joint we can make the movement in front as well as back. Front and back, as we can open and close our door. It is similar like that.
These type of of joints you can find in your knee as well as elbow. Okay. So I hope it is clear. What I told you, that hind joints are the joints which act like a joint of a door, and as we can open the door in one direction, then we can bring it back. So similar type of the motion or similar type of the movement is done by the hind joints, and the example of a hind joints are knee and elbow. Now when we talk about the pivot joint, when we talk about the pivot joint, actually what it is? In pivot joint, one bone is like a cylindrical shape and the other bone is like a circular. Shape. So, what happened? The example of pivot joint is like the neck that is attached to the skull. The neck that is attached to the skull, or we can say the neck that is attached to the head. So,
now on your screen, student, it is the joint between the neck and the head, and this joint is named as pivot joint, with the help of which our neck bones are attached to our head.
So this neck area, this act like a cylindrical and the head area act like a circular. So such type of a joint are called pivot joint, and these pivot joints are help us in looking left front, little left, little right, in this way, up and down. So this is the role of the pivot joint. How we can use this joint? Right, left, up, down. So such type of movement is made by the pivot joint. Now the another type of joint is our gliding joint. Now what is this gliding joint? See, gliding means when one thing come over the other. They are gliding over each other. So when we talk about the gliding joint, what we see that here the bones are gliding over one over the other, and such type of joint is we can see such type of joints in ankle and wrist. That's why sometimes you also listen a little small type of a voice when you are doing like this. Why? Because the bones are one over other, so they are gliding over each other. So such the gliding joints are available in our in our ankle and in our wrist. Okay.
Now students, on your screen, this is the gliding joint that is present in our ankle area.
So here students, I have explained you about the 4 types of the movable joints. And in case of immovable joint, the skull bones are immovable, but the exception is lower jaw. So I hope this much is clear to everyone. Now, joints you all know now, and the ligament are the strong flexible tissues which are holding the bones together, right? Now let's move further to the another topic, and that is our muscles, and the next topic is muscles. Now, so students, it's time to discuss about the muscles. So, do you know what are muscles? Muscles are present in our body to help the bones for making movement. Muscles are present in our body to help the bones for making movement. As our whole skeleton is made up of bones, but bones are unable to make movement. So for carrying out the movement of the bones, there are muscles. For carrying out the movement of the bones, there are muscles, and in our human body we have about 650 muscles. We have about 650 muscles in our human body. And what is the role that these muscles help in the movement of the bone? How? They help in contraction and relaxation. So time when you are contracting some muscles, at the same time some muscles are relaxed. So how this process is taking place? This process is taking place with the help of the muscles. And now when we talk about the muscles, then here also comes one term that is called tendon. That is called tendons. T-E-N-D-O-N-S. T-E-N-D-O-N-S. Now what are these tendons? See student, tendons are the fibrous tissue that helps muscles to attach with bone. So what we can say that these are attached to the bones by strong fibers called tendons. These are means the muscles. Muscles are attached to the bones by the strong fiber called tendons. And these tendons are also called the tissues. Okay. What we can say, the bones are attached to the muscles with the help of the fibrous tissue called tendons. Now, when we talk about the tendons and the muscles, so what is their role? Their role is to make the movement of the bones. The role of muscles is to make the movement of the bones, and the role of tendon is that it helps muscles in attaching to the bone. Okay. Now I hope it is clear to everyone. Now when we talk about the muscles, students, then here comes the types of muscles. When we talk about the muscles, then there are two types of muscles. What are these? So when we talk about the muscles, we have two types of muscles. The one is called voluntary, V-O-L-U-N-T-A-R-Y, voluntary, and the other is called involuntary, I-N-V-O-L-U-N-T-A-R-Y. We have two types of muscles, voluntary muscles and involuntary muscles. Now, what do you mean by voluntary muscles and what do you mean by involuntary muscles? So, student, when we talk about the voluntary muscles, these are the muscles which we can the work of these muscles can be done by our choice. Means these muscles are in our control. When we talk about the voluntary muscles, these are the muscles which are under our control, and we can make the movement of these muscles by knowingly. Means suppose when I have to pick something, so I know that for picking something I have to use my hand. So when I am able to control the muscles of my hand, means these are the voluntary muscles. So the muscles which are in our control are called the voluntary muscles. And these voluntary muscles are also known as skeletal muscles. These voluntary muscles are also known as skeletal muscles. S-K-E-L-E-T-O-N. Skeleton, M-U-S-C-L-E-S. Skeletal muscles. Voluntary muscles are also known as skeletal muscles. Now, another type of muscles are involuntary muscles. Involuntary muscles. Now, what are these involuntary muscles? So, the muscles whose actions are not in our control. The muscles whose actions are not in our control are called the involuntary muscles, like muscles of stomach, muscles of food pipe. Okay. Muscles of stomach, muscles of food pipe, muscles of our digestive system, these all are not in our control. So these muscles are called involuntary muscles. So what we come to know that the muscles which are not in our control are called the involuntary muscles. and they are also known as smooth muscles. They are also called the smooth muscles. Okay. Now, one more type of muscles we have. One more type of muscle we have, that is called cardiac muscles. That is called cardiac muscles. What are these cardiac muscles? Let me write here. Voluntary, involuntary, and the other comes cardiac. Cardiac muscles. What are these cardiac muscles then? See, cardiac muscles are the muscles which act like voluntary, which are structured like voluntary, but they function like involuntary. Which are structured like voluntary, but they function like involuntary. Means if you look from outside, so they will look like voluntary muscles only, but when you see their function, then they function completely like the involuntary muscles, means their function is not in our control. So what it is? Such type of muscles which is structured like voluntary but their functions are involuntary, such muscles are called cardiac muscles. Such muscles are called cardiac muscles. For example, muscles of our heart. For example, muscles of our heart. Okay. So, here we have discussed about this also now. What are the cardiac muscles? What are involuntary muscles? And what are voluntary muscles? Okay. Here one topic, that development of muscles. So how the development of muscles takes place. So what it is saying, that you must have seen the well-developed muscles of athletes, wrestlers, boxers and other players. To have healthy and well-formed body, the muscles must be strong. And how you will have strong muscles? So what it is saying, we should do regular exercise, we must play games, we must take proper rest, and we must have good eating habits. We should not have bad habits like smoking, chewing tobacco, taking alcohol or any kind of harmful drugs. These bad habits damage our body. The regular exercise, games and proper rest with a good eating habits help in building our muscles. Okay. So students, in today's class, I have introduced you with the joints, ligaments, muscles, tendons, type of a joints, movable, immovable and the types of muscles like involuntary muscles, voluntary muscles, right, and cardiac muscles. So I hope that now these topics you will able to understand well. And for better understanding, you can go through your book also. So I hope students you all will like this video. Thank you and have a nice day ahead.